What's up, guys? Welcome
What's
back
up,
to
guys?
another episode of the podcast. We have our lovely
We have
dogs
two
popping in
special
here.
guests. We
Two
have
special guests this week.
Bogey on the podcast right now. If you're watching this, you are blessed. If you're not watching this, head over to YouTube or Spotify and watch the video because we got our dog Bogey with us. And the reason we got our dog Bogey with us is because Bogey and Britta, who is the real special guest on this podcast.
Bogey can't stay awake. Britta
and Bogey bonded during the Inner Circle retreat.
Yeah, we just got back from the Inner Circle retreat last week, guys, and this is actually where we shot this podcast with Britta. Britta is a wedding photographer, initially from Chicago area, moved down to SoCal just recently, and her story of building her business is incredible. But she bonded with Bogey so much last week on the podcast.
Bogey is very sad.
we were about to hit record, and I was like, we should just hold Bogey in frame because he always lies at our feet when we're podcasting. Hold Bogey in frame as an ode to Britta because him and Britta are really good friends. So, anyways, guys, we're so glad you're here. Welcome back to the Creativ podcast. If you are new here, this is a podcast that solely exists for you to learn how to build a better business as a photographer, as a filmmaker, as a graphic designer, social media manager, a creator, an influencer, whatever you are in the service-based creative space. We're so glad you're here. Christy and I have owned our own creative businesses for the last decade, and this podcast is a collection of things that we learn in the process of failures and wins. We want to share it with you, which is really great. And even better, we then take opportunities like today to bring on friends who have also grown their own businesses and have built some really beautiful things to share their own stories. So really excited for that. But before we get in, we have something to not be tired and sleepy about like Bogey is right now. We have a super exciting week coming up. So Christy and I are coming off the craziest month of work you've ever had in your life.
Yeah, this is up there.
It feels like the last 30 to 40 days have been nonstop chaos. So we're actually going to do a longer podcast episode on this, breaking this down, but we've had the biggest month our creative business has ever had in a decade of us running our own creative businesses. This month, we did $108,000 since the start of January, which is pretty crazy. Actually, we'll get more into the story, but we did not see it coming. A lot of it came out of the blue. So there's a lot of lessons into that. We're going to be talking more about that in a future podcast episode.
And at the workshop.
Yeah, and also, we're going to be talking about that on the workshop. So this week's going to be epic because we've been so busy with photo and video and brand strategy campaigns over this last month, but then we're also getting really fired up and excited because next Wednesday, the 26th of February, 4:30 Pacific Standard Time. If you have not been listening the last couple of weeks of the podcast, we're having our next workshop, which is awesome. So it's a 10K creator workshop.
Totally
going to be breaking down a couple different ways that you can build your business up to 10K months, or if you're already there, how you can make them even more consistent, or ideally even grow past the 10K mark, which is really exciting. So we just had a $108,000 month. We're going to break down what we're doing. We're also going to break down from a few other special guests what they are doing in order to create these really cool 10K plus months. So we'd love to see you there. There's going to be a lot of energy there. It's not going to be like this sleeping dog.
Although Bogey may make a cameo appearance.
Yeah, he might pop up into frame.
He might pop up. It's going to be so much fun. Again, it's totally free. It's live. We're going to do Q&A at the end. It's like a fun community call. So make sure you're there live. And how you register, go to creativrise.com/workshop or just head to the show notes to register. Again, it's totally free, limited spots. So make sure you claim a spot right now.
And these are some of our favorite things we do all year. We only run typically like 1 or 2 workshops a year.
They're so fun.
And this is the next one. So we really want to make sure you're there. It's going to be a freaking blast. And our promise to you is that we're going to bring as much value as we possibly can about what it looks like to build a 10K per month plus business from our own experiences, and then just from the experience of running Creativ Rise and getting to have that touch point at so many other people's businesses. So really excited. But today's guest, a great friend of ours and also a really great friend of Bogey's, our dog, Britta. She is amazing. Like I said, she's a wedding photographer originally from the Chicago area, but she now lives in Southern California, and she has built a 6-figure business, and she just got out of college.
Literally.
She's not even a year out of college. She just graduated.
She went through our Creativ Rise Mastermind. She's absolutely so wonderful, cool, kind, humble. And she's, has built a 6-figure business right out of college, which I don't think a lot of people could probably say. So listen to this podcast. She's got so much value around building like a strong inquiry inflow, building a business when you move states.
Yeah, it's huge.
Doing a lot of different kind of stuff like that. So you're going to love this podcast. So here is Britta.
All right, Britta, welcome to the podcast. We are so glad to be with you, not only just on the podcast, but we're here in person, which is awesome. It's great. Britta, we just wrapped up our Inner Circle retreat in Palm Desert. So Actually, it's kind of cloudy outside, but the entire week has been unbelievably sunny. But
it was nice.
We've had 4 days with Britta, which has been such
The
an honor,
best.
such a treat.
Yes.
And you guys now have the treat of getting to sit with her as well and hear her story. And her story is absolutely incredible. But before we jump into your story, Britta, I want to ask you our quick rapid fire questions that we always do with our guests. Are you ready?
I'm so ready.
She's ready. She's like, I've been knowing this is coming. I know this is ready. Okay. Give your name, where you're from, and what you do.
I'm Britta. I'm a wedding photographer and originally from the Midwest, but living in Southern California now.
As of recent.
As of
Full time.
As of like a few weeks ago, right?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And you got started with your business while you were in college, correct?
Correct.
So how long has it been?
About 4 years now.
Sweet.
Just graduated this past May. So it's almost been a year since graduating and going full time.
Yeah.
So
It's awesome. We're going to dive into that. But before we dive into that and all the amazing things you've accomplished, give us your flop. Give us something that you've either tried or
Let's
done
humanize Britta.
that has absolutely either humiliated you or something like that, just to humanize you for the audience, for everybody to know a little bit more about something where you bombed in.
Yeah. About a year ago, I had a wedding, and it was in a church and kind of a darker space. So I was set up like really ready to go when they did, the rings, first kiss, walking back down the aisle. So I was all prepared to do, all of those iconic shots that everyone dreams about, having in their wedding gallery. And when the officiant was like, go ahead, do your kiss, the couple, it looked like they barely touched each other. It was like a peck of a kiss. And I missed it. I didn't get it. And I was like, shoot, what do I do? This never happens. And again, this is such an iconic photo.
Moment.
It's the moment. This is what everybody wants
Yes.
out of anything in their wedding gallery. And so I was like, thankfully I was thinking, I was quick on my feet and trying to problem solve right then and there. So I made eye contact with the groom because he happened to look out into the crowd and was like cheering.
And we're not cheering for you, buddy. That was lame.
So I made eye contact with him and I made this motion. I was like, do it again. And thankfully he caught on and they kissed again. It was a bit longer the second go around and I got it. So we got some sort of a first kiss and the wedding gallery was great. So it was a flop, but then it turned out to be
into a
fine.
non-flop.
Yeah.
That's so good.
I feel like that moment at a wedding can either be too short or it can just be too long.
Oh,
Yeah.
the too
When you're
long.
having to
yes.
photograph it,
Yeah.
you're like,
Everybody.
can I stop taking photos of this? This is too much.
Yeah.
That's so
Yeah.
good. I love
Okay,
that
I'm adding
flop.
one to rapid fire. That's a hilarious story. I'm adding one more
Yeah.
question to rapid fire. What's your favorite moment of the last 4 days? We spent the last 4 days, as Christy said, down here in Palm Desert, Inner Circle Retreat. We do this once a year, bring a bunch of people that have graduated from the 6-week Creative Res Mastermind that have hit 6 figures. You're in the 6-figure club, which is awesome. What's been your favorite part of the last 4 days?
Yeah, I think it has been so fun to be in a room full of creatives, especially being self-employed and kind of doing things on my own. I'm often not in a room with other people that are like-minded, doing the same thing. It's hard to bounce ideas off of other people when they're just not in the same space. So it has been so fun to be in a room where I can chat about anything and everything and gain value from other people, but then also feel like I can also have input in other people's businesses. And it's like a very mutual, kind of learning ground. It's been so fun. I feel like I'm walking away with a lot of great ideas for what I want to do in the next year to keep going. And yeah, it's been a blast.
That's so cool. It has been absolutely so much fun. And so much fun watching you surf at the Palm Springs Surf Club.
goodness.
Yes, we went to the
rented
Palm
out.
Springs Surf Club, and
was so
Britta was
fun.
just like all in there,
She was all in there.
ripping. We were like,
Getting
go
tossed
Britta.
sometimes.
Yeah, no,
but
I
really
think I
going
just
after it.
failed every single time, but it was so fun. I didn't make that. Yeah, I didn't stand up, but
Well,
that's
we
okay.
got to see the grit in the surfing. None of us did well. It was all just hilarious. It was a great time, but you did get to see your grit, and you have had a lot of grit, honestly, in building your business. I said this last night as we were kind of all sitting around the table eating tons of pizza. It was awesome. But I was like, Britta, I have never realized that you're actually really young. Like, I was like, I'm having this moment where I was like, Britta's accomplished so much. She's a 6-figure business owner. She's crushing it. And she graduated from college less than a year ago. Like, she's still
amazing.
She's still just getting started, but you've already accomplished so much. So I want to backtrack a little bit into, what did life look like, 4 years ago when you were just starting this business? You were obviously just getting into college at the time. Walk us through a little bit of your journey in getting started in wedding photography. What were you doing? Why did you jump into it? What were maybe some of like the highs and lows of getting started and really getting forward in your journey?
Yeah. Well, I think the starting point was actually high school for me. Picked up my first camera my freshman year, started with the classic family photos and senior photos, and realized I loved working with people. I loved the creative side, but really valued the relational aspect that came with photography. And so that kind of turned into this desire to do weddings, because obviously that's a room full of people, but it's also really creative. So in my free time in high school, I would be on my dad's computer in the basement, like doing random, like sort of mastermind things or webinars. I guess that's what you would call it. Wedding webinars. I'd hop on those. I'd watch YouTube videos. I was like in a learning phase all of high school because I had this like vision. I was like, I'm going to become a wedding photographer. What can I do now to get started, even though I'm not present at a wedding?
Wow.
I didn't know any wedding photographers, so I didn't have connections to go second shoot. And eventually I had those connections and they fell through because of COVID, which is a whole nother story. But
That's interesting too,
I did everything I could to learn before I even stepped into a wedding day. And then, including, the camera setups and, all the more technical side of things.
Okay, so you were like in high school and you're spending your free time learning wedding photography, learning the ins and outs of the business before you ever even shot a wedding. You were already learning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow.
I was just so hungry to get going with it. And I guess I did shadow someone in high school at a wedding. And I begged my mom to drive me down to Chicago to go do it. And I'm so glad she agreed, because that was kind of my first taste of this is what I could be doing. And I just kept going from there. Shot my first wedding by myself my freshman year of college.
Wow.
And I kind of just never looked back. And that's kind of, that's how I started. And here we are, which is crazy.
Yeah.
So started freshman year of college.
Yep.
You've now gone through college, came out of college with a 6-figure business, which is not what a lot of people come out of college with.
A lot of
people coming out with
6 figures in debt.
6 figures of debt, and you're coming out with a 6-figure business, which is awesome, and it's such a testament to you working really hard, getting started early. And what I loved about it was you weren't waiting for someone to invite you to a wedding or invite you into the wedding space. You were like, I'm going to claw my way into learning everything I can learn, and then look for opportunities to shadow and second shoot. What else have you done in the early stages of your business to actually get business, to get wedding inquiries, to grow your brand? That is the hardest part of growing a business, right? Like shooting the wedding day, it's much easier to build those skills and get really good at that quickly than it is to learn how to fill your calendar with leads, right? Yeah. So what did it look like early on for you in getting inquiries so you could actually build a 6-figure wedding business? What's that look like?
Yeah. From the get-go in college, I made it very clear to people that this is what I wanted to do. I showed up with confidence in those spaces. So I was like, I am pursuing wedding photography, and this is what I do / want to do. And it started out with just figuring out who is in my network of people and how can I provide this service to those people. So especially being in college, everyone's getting married, I feel like, or even just dating simply, which is great for me because, that's my pool of clientele. So I made an effort to go network and set up shoots and offer my services when people got engaged. And over time that, kept kind of snowballing of people were like, oh, here's Britta, she's a wedding photographer. You should, look into her stuff. And a lot of networking, a lot of referrals from the beginning. But I think that goes back to the confidence piece of I knew that this is what I wanted to do, and I didn't shy away from that. So made it clear wherever I was.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
You probably know who Bob Goff is.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we love Bob. Bob
Yeah.
talks about that all the time. He says, you've got to declare your ambitions.
Yeah.
Like if you don't tell the world what you're trying to do, people can't invite themselves into helping you do that, right?
Yes,
And so many of us creatives sit isolated behind computers in our little editing zones, whatever that looks like, trying to build creative businesses, but we don't actually go out and declare that that's what we want to do. You said from the beginning, early on, you were like, I want to pursue wedding photography. I want to do this. And you just started to chit chat about it, right?
Yeah.
And because of that, people, not only did you get opportunity to do that, but people probably wanted to support you in that because they saw the passion in you. So if you're listening to the show, you've not clearly made it known to the people around you, like outside of like your direct family, like your whole community needs to know that this is what you're going after. And if you do that, you declare your ambitions, as our friend Bob says, it is so helpful. And it's a beautiful thing to get to support someone that's also declaring what they want out of life. So you give other people the opportunity to support you that way, which it sounds like you did an awesome job of, which is amazing.
Yeah.
And I think there's also something to say too, like declaring your ambitions to other people, but it's also like declaring it to yourself. Like even though that sounds kind of weird, but like I even just talking to you and getting to know you through obviously the mastermind and now at the inner circle in person, I feel like you're someone who has also needed to tell yourself, like, yes. I'm giving myself permission to do these things. I'm giving myself like permission to really go, okay, yeah, I'm not a normal college student. I'm not a normal college student that's just like, oh, I don't really want to know what I do. And then as soon as I graduate, I'm just going to like move back to what's comfortable. Talk about the transition of graduating from Southern California, from a university in Southern California, to moving back home. And then what did you do from that? And like, what did that whole transition and situation look like?
Yeah. Graduating from college, I obviously had this business, knew I wanted to keep going with it. And I had a taste of what I liked and what I disliked within the wedding industry and was able to kind of figure out, okay, what are my hopes and dreams and what I want to do with wedding photography and how do I get there? And I felt like I had this clear path of getting there. And so for me, that looked like moving back to California after graduating. And the whole move thing is a whole nother story. But yeah, I felt like being out here, I just loved the creative aspect of being outside all the time, being at the beach. I felt like I was so fueled by what I was able to create in the Southern California space. So I definitely wanted to keep going with that. And say the other part of your question.
So you left Chicago because that's where like all your family is. That's probably where it's really comfortable. I know you've got so many people that you love there. And you chose to move to Southern California, move to a city you've never lived in, and even with people that you moved in with people you've never met before. Like you have made some big decisions post college. Like describe did you have any fear doing that? Was there any like, oh, am I doing the right thing? Like, did you ever second guess yourself in that transition of like, okay, I could go back to what's comfortable, but also do I really chase this ambition? What did that look like for you?
No, I did not second guess it. I was so
I'm going.
Which at some points I was like, am I having like tunnel vision where like I'm not seeing clearly like what's in front of me? But no, I really, since graduating, I like had this goal and I did everything I could to go after it.
Yeah.
And it's funny because looking back, that was always something I wanted to do, was to move back to California. And my kind of marker for making it official was bookings, like wedding bookings out here. I was like, if I can start booking weddings in California, then that's kind of like my sign, you could say, that it's time to move. And thankfully, that's when I started the Mastermind. And I felt like that was helpful for me to figure out, how do I actually market myself in a space that I'm not actually physically in and I don't have a strong network in, but how do I make the transition even before I'm out there, kind of a thing. And was able to do that and had clear direction through the Mastermind. to be able to make that move
Yeah,
and
what's
have
that-
I love
business.
that.
What's
Yeah.
that look like? So a lot of people want to start booking weddings out of state, let alone maybe get enough bookings where they could consider moving there. What was the first step for you in going, okay, I'm in Chicago, I want to start booking more weddings in SoCal. What
Yeah.
are a few things that you started to shift or push into in your marketing that allowed you to get SoCal weddings when
Yeah.
you didn't live in SoCal?
Yeah. I prior had all things Chicago and Southern California. And I think that was really confusing for people. I had inquiries coming in for either one of those spaces, and they were like, where are you? Like, are you here? Are you there? Do I have travel fees? And I think even for my own family, they'd look at my Instagram and be like, Britta, where are you? Like, which therefore, I didn't have a clear location or space in the industry that I was in. So therefore, I got rid of everything Chicago.
I remember having that conversation with you in the
you drew a
mastermind.
line
I
in the
remember we
sand,
were sitting there and you were like, I feel like people were confused. I'm like, if you know you're going to go to California, take off anything that says Chicago. Like, get super, super clear with your clients about where you are. Yeah.
Exactly. So I changed, after I think that conversation, I changed everything from Instagram to my website to even all the little footers and everything. Like, everything screamed Southern California. Even my portfolio, I went and changed it to all things beach and coastal and all of that. And that also included like my Instagram feed. I I tried to take out as much as I could Chicago styled stuff. So it screamed California for that kind of a clientele, because it's very different. I recognize both camps are very different in style and even the wedding day in both areas.
Different style of day.
Yeah, so different. So wanted to make sure I was speaking clearly to the one I wanted.
Absolutely. Yeah. I love the I feel like this happens when people are transitioning from one place to another, or like even transitioning like in your brand. Like, I've been shooting only families, but now I want to shoot weddings. Like, I'm doing this. And people sometimes they feel really stuck in like, I just need to be showing what I'm doing right now. And it's like, no, as business owners, we need to almost be like operating in the future. Like, you have to like build your business to reflect what you want to do, not what you're doing right now. Reflect the pricing of where you want to be, not the pricing you're right now. Like, all of those things. And I think you've done that super, super well. What does it look like for you in shifting, like, when it comes to like, okay, I'm trying to get more bookings in like these specific locations or like specific venues. Is there anything that you did through like social media or like anything like that? I know you switched all of like the Southern California this, Southern California that. Did you go out and like do shoots? Did you go out and connect with vendors, like other photographers? Like, what are other ways that you got yourself immersed in a new space and a new community to get more work?
Yeah, I did a lot of different things. I set up a ton of second shooting with photographers I already knew or somewhat knew in Southern California, so I could start building just a practical Southern California portfolio to showcase. I started making all of my socials, like Instagram posts, California related, and not just that it showed the beach. It was like I was networking within my posts. Like, for example, I had a post that was like, here are 5 Southern California vendors you should look into, which I had actually worked with all of them before, but I was pretty much like pitching them and being like, these are awesome people, you should work with them. So then they reposted that, just
gets shared.
Just creating a wider circle within the network I already have.
Right.
Those are 2 main examples of what I did. I'm trying to think if there's anything else.
What I love, what I'm hearing you say that I love, and this is one of the biggest critiques to wedding creatives, definitely brand creatives on both sides, commercial and wedding, is we often slip into running reactive businesses where we're just reacting to the things that are happening. You're moving across the country and moving your business. The only way it worked is because you were super proactive. You weren't waiting for SoCal inquiries to come in. You were like, I'm going to go make SoCal connections, make SoCal content, make SoCal driven brand decisions. And I'm going to push myself into a space where I'm actually going to start getting SoCal inquiries. Like, that is amazing. And that's something that we all can easily slip into seasons of just getting really reactive, and we lose sight of what it looks like to get proactive again and actually go after creating the business we want. So if you're listening, really consider that. Think to yourself, like, from hearing Britta's story in that, are you, when you put yourself aside, that are you acting very reactively or are you acting very proactively? Because Britta, you're a great testament of what proactive business looks like, making a decision and then making, really important brand decisions, marketing decisions, time management decisions, location decisions, sacrificing things so that you could actually get what you want. So I think that's huge. I think that's huge. What's something that you know now about running a wedding photography business and getting leads, booking weddings? Because that's what everybody wants to do.
Yeah.
What's something you know now about booking weddings on the business side you didn't know when you got started that you would love to go tell, freshman Britta in first year of college? Like, hey, if you can just do this, girl, like, you're going to get where you want to get faster.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest things I have learned over time that unfortunately I feel like I'm just now implementing way more that I should have been implementing back then is that, you can't wait for things to come to you, specifically within, like, if you're reaching a certain market or kind of wedding you want to be a part of, like, it's not just going to fall in your lap 9 times out of 10. Like, you have to go after it, go pursue it, go figure out how you can be a voice within that space, whatever it may look like. So I wish I had been more proactive on creating even like styled shoots of the kinds of weddings I really wanted to be a part of and actually book from real clients. So even now, in the past month of me being out here in California, I've set up like shoots with couples for the kind of vibe I'm going for, or you could say niche I'm going for. I'm setting up like a full-on wedding styled shoot right now with a friend. Awesome. Again, to like network within the industry with different vendors, planners, and all that kind of stuff, but also to showcase the kinds of weddings and the market I want to be in here. That's a bit more higher end, and that those kind of clients would be attracted to. Because that kind of stuff goes a long ways in
Totally.
And creating leads and
Totally.
That's
It gives
really
you
good.
like so many options to go out and be proactive, right? Like, it's hard to be proactive when you have no content. You're not stoked on anything you've shot recently because it hasn't been like your ideal wedding that you're wanting to put out there. And when you're also not connecting with people, like when you are in the trap of no fresh content, no fresh connections, no fresh motivation, like, it's so hard to be proactive. So doing the right things, like going out and doing styled shoots, really coming up and getting clear on who you do want to target, and then creating marketing material towards those people, and obviously getting around people that are just going to motivate you. Like, that is a great trio to be proactive.
Oh my god.
It's a great answer.
Yeah.
That's
And
awesome.
I think another thing to add with that is probably, me 4 years ago would have been scared to give value if it meant I was losing something. Now I know the importance of giving value, even if it's free, because oftentimes people will notice it. And that is like an ROI within itself.
Absolutely.
And so, again, I wish I had done this earlier, because even if I'm doing free shoots here, that has led to more work and, again, more of a network to pull from. And the
So good.
giving value, even if you are losing money or time or whatever it may be, can be really great in the end. It can really pay off.
That's something that I completely agree with you. And I think that's encouraging for probably people listening, is they're like, oh, here's Britta doing over 6 figures in a wedding business that she like literally just graduated college a year, and she's still doing things for free because she wants to, because she's trying to grow in certain areas. And I remember I was at a workshop once, like years and years and years ago, at a wedding workshop. And I remember this really successful wedding photographer, like one of the most successful in the entire industry. And she's like, oh, I probably do a free styled shoot every single month. She's like, I do it because I know that it's helping to continue to grow my brand. And I think sometimes you can get nitpicky with like, oh, well, now that I make money, like, I'm never going to do something for free, and I'm never going to do this. But you're absolutely right. The ROI on doing certain intentional things for free, not like, oh, this person just wants something for free, and it's not going to grow my brand. but actually going out and going, okay, how do I grow my brand? What are things that I do for free? What are things that I do for spec work? What do I do those things? Like that does have an ROI and it can be really incredible for your business.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
I'm like, I love that. Yeah. Not getting too prideful as you grow.
Yes.
To the fact where you're above free stuff.
Totally.
You know?
I think that's
That's-
such an important message for people. Okay, Britta, you were in the Mastermind this last year, and we loved having you in the Mastermind. You were absolutely incredible, and I think there was so much that a lot of people gained from having you in there.
And it sounds like it was a great time for you because you were really starting to think about that transition.
Yeah.
Yeah. That sounds like it was a good time.
What was the 6-week Mastermind like for you? Why did you jump into it? And let's start there.
Yeah. I jumped into it because I'd been wanting to do it for years, and it just happened to be the right timing for me to join, seeing that before I was in school. So doing school, Mastermind, and like having a life outside of all of that just seemed like too much. So I was kind of waiting for me to be done with college until joining. But it was, like you said, it was great for that period of time because I was thinking about this big move, and that kind of was helpful in jump-starting how to do that and how to not only like move myself, but move my business and all of that.
Absolutely. What were some takeaways that you had during the 6 weeks? Like obviously there's like community side of things, there's content side of things, group calls, all that kind of stuff. What did you find most helpful for causing change in your business and where you're trying to go?
Yeah. Looking back at that time, I mean, it started in September and I graduated in the beginning of May. So I had had a handful of months under my belt of being full-time, which I guess was not a ton of time. And I think within that period, I was really stuck on how in the world do I run a business with all this time? Like, what do I do to fill the time? Like, I didn't know how to have a schedule that was like effective and efficient to, all things marketing and emails and finances. Like, I just didn't know what that looked like to be, self-employed.
Like a full-on business.
Where's the best place to put your time? You wake up and you're like, I have
no
a whole
idea.
day and I can do whatever I want. Yeah.
Well,
What's the best use of my time?
Yeah, I kept telling people, I feel like I wake up and it's like, choose your own adventure. That's truly how it was, which is not the greatest way of going about it.
Yes.
So I felt like the Mastermind really helped me dial in, like, what do I need to put my time to? And here are the steps of how to do it. So each week you go through a different, category of pillar. And it was so helpful to be like, here are like the gaps within my business of what needs to be focused on and like what I need to put a lot of time into. And here are spaces that maybe I'm a bit better at and I can put more on the back burner, even if I'd been putting all my time into that category. I felt like it was just helpful for me to understand like the whole problem solving part of owning a business, of where can I get better and, X, Y, and Z. And so it was helpful for that. Yeah.
That's great. That's awesome. What would you say for someone who's maybe on the fence of jumping in or not? Like they're maybe in a similar spot to you and they're nervous about spending the money on themselves, or they're nervous about, committing time or going even all in on a business idea, right? Like maybe they are someone who's fresh out of college and they're like, oh, do I really go all in on myself or should I just go work for somebody else? What advice and encouragement would you give to somebody?
I would say just do it. I think I'd live with so much regret if I didn't go through all of this. Like, I can't even imagine where I'd be right now if I had not gone through it, actually. I don't think I would have been able to, get the business I do, have now if I had not gone through the Mastermind. I think, it's definitely a risk, but with the Mastermind, it's much more of a calculated risk. It's it's not a shot in the dark if you're joining. It's very much you will have the steps you need to achieve whatever it may be in the end. So I don't know, I feel like
it's like risky on yourself. Like it's just hey, take the risk on yourself for business. And
if you're willing to put in the work,
yeah,
it will be beneficial in the long run.
Yeah.
So
awesome.
yeah.
That's great.
100%. What would you we'll wrap up with this. Where can people find you, first of all? Yeah, where can people connect, follow you? You have amazing work.
See all your California
Yeah,
stuff.
where can people follow you and check that out?
Yeah, on Instagram at Britta Swoboda. I know that's a mouthful, so
It's an awesome
Put it in the
name.
show notes.
Yeah, there you go.
Amazing name.
Yeah.
Be in the show notes. And last question, we love asking this question. You've obviously gone all in. You've committed. What's your answer to someone who's asking the question who has not yet gone all in and going, it's risky, I'm nervous, it's going against the grain of what maybe, my parents thought I was going to do, or what my community around me is doing. I don't know anybody else that's doing this. Why is it worth it to face all of that and still give it a green light and go for it?
Yeah.
Why is this all worth it?
I'd say if you are passionate about it and you believe this is a gift that you have, you gotta let people in on it. I think it would be a disservice to everyone around you if you didn't use that gifting of yours or that passion, whatever it may be. I feel like that's what I have found. So go all in, and it will be so fun. It'll make your life really, really crazy.
Really crazy and really
in the best way
Crazy,
ever.
but you might be living at the beach.
I
So
love it. You
yeah,
might
you
be
might
on the
be living
beach.
at the beach.
An
Yeah.
adventure on the beach.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Britta,
awesome.
Your story is amazing. We're so proud of you. It's been
Thanks.
awesome to hang for the last 4 days and just hear more about what you're building and get to speak into that and have you speak into other people's businesses. It's been so cool. So we're super proud of you. And thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, thanks
Of
for being
course.
here.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Britta.
Okay, that was such a fun conversation with Britta. I loved having her on the podcast. We loved going through the 6-week mastermind with her. It's just so fun to build these relationships with people that are just doing cool things around the world.
What I love about Britta is she's freaky talented. Her work is insane, but she's also so well spoken. Like that podcast episode was so great. She's so well spoken. She's calm and steady in her words, and she can just like speak something, and it's like, oh yeah, that makes sense, and that makes sense why it works for you, which is cool. So I hope you got a ton of value out of that.
Yeah, and if you're someone that's like, okay, I want to be around people like that. Like I want to be around people that are taking risks. They're doing things. They're not settling for just like the normal status quo of like, oh, I'm just going to go get this 9 to 5. I'm going to do this, this, and this. You have a creative passion, you want to pursue it, and you want it to be something where you can build a 6-figure business, something that you can really rely on. You can go through the exact same process that Britta went through, the 6-week Creative Rise Mastermind. We only run this twice a year. We take about 30 to 35 creatives each round, and we go through 6 weeks of building a 6-figure foundation with you for your creative business. So whether you're a photographer, filmmaker in the brand space, the wedding space, social media manager, influencer, content creator, what have you, if you are a service-based creative, this is for you. We go through basically 6 weeks of content, community, coaching, and accountability. It's kind of like we've been saying, it's like 75 hard, but for your business. So if that's something you are interested in joining, something exactly like what Britta went through, our next one's coming quick.
Come out.
It's coming
March
quick.
16th, we start.
March 16th, we start, and applications publicly open March 2nd. However, if you jump on the wait list, you get early access to the application as well as a ton of access to different bonus courses, all of that kind of stuff. It is awesome. So make sure you jump on the early access wait list if you are at all interested, because we usually sell most of the spots through the wait list. So next one is coming, and we are so pumped.
It's going to be great. I don't know if you can hear our dog. Our dog is also very excited about that, and so is Britta. He's aggressively playing with the toys. I don't know if you can hear that or not, but that is very distracting. But we're also very excited to see you guys on Wednesday, February 26th for our next workshop, the not 6-figure, that was our last one. It's the 10K per month creator workshop, which we are so jacked up about. So we're going to be breaking down 5 different ways that you can build up to more sustainable and consistent 10K months as a photographer, filmmaker, social media manager, or service-based creative. If you're a creator or an influencer, this is going to be epic. So it's totally free. Our gift to you, our whole community's coming. We'd love to see you there as well. If you've been listening to the pod for a while and you're like, I love the podcast, this is a great next step on one, how you can get like live value, but then also we actually get to engage with you. There's going to be a lot of Q&A and some fun things, which is our favorite. So we cannot wait to do that. Cannot wait to see who we get to jump on the workshop with. Limited to 150 spots. So go to creativebrowse.com/workshop or just hit the link in the description. You'll find all the notes on that. But Britta, thank you for being on the podcast. Go follow Britta. Definitely go follow her. Work is incredible, especially if you're in the wedding space. Go hit up Britta online, and guys, we'll catch you next week.